And I'll close by saying today, Honorable State Senators, we, the campaign to establish the Louisiana Office on Women's Health, ask for your support of the Office on Women's Health. And so I have with me today, and I hope you will allow her to speak, Mrs. Argarette, let me say your name right, Argarette Weatherspoon Collins. We have invited her today to tell you why she supports this Office on Women's Health.
Ms. Collins, welcome to the committee.
I'm talking concerning my daughter and my grandson, which passed last year in March. Her name was Jessica DeWan Collins Ruffin. His name was Jayce Lawrence Michael Ruffin. The services that she received through the healthcare system was not one that was assertive toward her and her needs. She herself was obese, but we enjoyed the message that she was pregnant, and this was right after her marriage. So she had been married 6 months, and she was pregnant. So we enjoyed that service. We went to all her prenatal cares. We talked with the doctors, but my concern was the doctors were not listening. They were not listening. Jessica had been having problems with her blood pressure prior to her being pregnant. Also, Jessica was an asthmatic, which used a nebulizer at home, and she had a rescue inhaler with her at all times. They never looked at her records to see what type of precautions they needed to take while she was pregnant. Prior to that, she has an 11-year-old she left behind. She had an 11-year-old that she had the same problems with the 11-year-old, but those doctors were on it. Those nurses were caring. Those people actually cared about her, even though she was obese. They cared. This particular system, going through that, Jessica stayed in the ER. She stayed in the ER with her blood pressure. Her blood pressure was elevated the whole time she was pregnant. She was never listed as a high-risk pregnancy. Never. The day in particular, March 2nd, Jessica arrived at the emergency room. She went to the doctor first. The doctor refused to see her because her insurance had lapsed that day. So she was refused treatment. She called me and told me, I said, do not come home. Go to the emergency room. She went to the emergency room. In the emergency room, she called me. She said, Mama, my blood pressure is still high. I said, what is it, baby? It's 280 over 190. You know what the emergency room did for my daughter? They sat her in the emergency room. When they sat her in the emergency room, 20 minutes later, she went into a seizure and had a stroke. Then they came, but what they didn't realize is God put it in plan where she could tell us everything that happened in that emergency room. Because she was obese, she told us that she was thrown around like nothing. She was tossed. Never mind that she had a baby in her. She was tossed around. When they finally decided to take my grandson out, he was bruised from the top of his body to the bottom of his body. He was shucking when they took him out. So they gave him a diagnosis, and it's endocritis. That's what they gave the diagnosis for, which was absolutely not true. This doctor did not follow protocol into seeing that she had already had problems and she should have been categorized. She should have been. She was not. She went through that stroke. When we talked to one of the head GYN doctors up there, and I explained to her the situation, that this doctor did not follow protocol, and this doctor did not care that my child had a name. My grandson was named before he was here. These are people. This little girl was a master cake baker. She was an excellent mother. She wanted this little boy. She has an 11-year-old girl, which is named Alana. Before I finish with my story, let me tell you what my 11-year-old granddaughter told me. She said, Granny, I love you and I love TT, but I can't talk to you all. She said, I can't talk to my mama because I have to go and talk to a piece of concrete. Do you know that cut me like a knife? Going back to Jessica, after they did the surgery to remove my grandson, he went to NIC ICU. She was in ICU. The hospital staff said they were not equipped to handle Jessica's situation. If you were not equipped, you should have not actually admitted her under your care. So they then sent her to New Orleans. To New Orleans, we was in the room every day. We're a close-knit family, so if one is sick and one goes down, you will see the entire family. Every day Jessica spent in New Orleans, I was in New Orleans. My daughter was in New Orleans. We stayed, her dad stayed. Nobody left her in ICU alone. Every day a doctor would come in and we would ask questions. You know what the doctors did? They turned around and walked out the room like we had no voice. I would say, what are you giving her that for? Why is this? We did the 3 W's. Who, why, what? We asked questions. Nobody gave answers. Nobody gave answers. My thing was, somebody needs to be accountable for answering the family's questions. I still have questions, but I get no answers. That particular day when Jessica got ready to leave, well, no, let me go back. A week prior to that, the first week she was there, she fought the medication. They had her under medication to keep her asleep, paralyzed, keep her in a coma. This little girl here is an angel from God, and not just because she's mine. She fought through the medication they gave her. They finally had to wake her up. When they woke her up, the first thing she said, "Where's my mama?" I said, "I'm right here." She said, "Mama, I have to tell you something." And that's when she began to tell me what happened from the day she was in the emergency room till the day she came to New Orleans, Ochsner. She also told me, "Mama, do not leave me in this room by myself." I said, "You don't have to ask that question, because someone will be here with you at all times." When that day occurred, they put us out the room. They put the entire family out of the room. They kept us out of the room for 4 to 5 hours because they say they needed to work on her, not telling us she was coding, not telling her that they had gave her too much medicine and she was having an allergic reaction. It was so happened that a family was coming out that I snuck back in. When I snuck back in, I can't sleep now. You know why I can't sleep? Because I seen this huge man lying in my daughter's chest, pumping. I heard the sound of the line going flat. Zing! True, I thought it was only on television. The green heart had turned to red. All I could say was, "Fight, Jessica, fight. Fight, my baby, fight." This was my baby girl. I then sat on the floor and called my daughter. I said, "You gotta come." I said, "She's in here having a massive heart attack." In the process, I saw one of the nurses give her an EpiPen. We all know what an EpiPen is for. That was the first one. When my daughter came in, I ran out because I couldn't see anything else but the red heart. She came in, she said, "Mama, they gave her 3 EpiPens. And I asked, why are you giving my sister EpiPens? We need to get her back stable. Well, how is an EpiPen going to get her stable? She had 20 bags. She had a resuscitation machine. She was on life support. All this stuff came into that room within that 5 hours they had us on the outside. I completely passed out. I didn't even know where I was. When the chapel came into the emergency room where they had taken me, she told me that my daughter had passed. I said, that's not true. I said, get my kids, that's not true. I said, let me out of here, let me go talk to my daughter. I said, because that's not true. This one here came in the emergency room and said, Mama, I have to tell you something. I said, what is it, baby? She said, Mama, she's gone. She's gone. I still sit at that door waiting on Jayce to come in and say, Ma, I'm home. She used to travel. She worked for FEMA. When I say anything that hit through storms throughout this country, FEMA would call her. She was on the first line out. She was dedicated to her children, well, to her child. She was dedicated to her family. And if anybody would have met Jessica, you would have fell in love with her, because each nurse, each doctor on that floor was in tears when she went flatline. I never thought I would see people cry over somebody they didn't know, but they cried. But I figured they were crying because they did something wrong. They did something wrong. They overdosed my baby. They didn't go by prior pre-existing conditions. They didn't take precautions. They looked at her because she was oversized and obese. But that little girl may have been obese, but her daughter was a dancer. And everywhere her daughter went, Jessica was right there with her, dancing up a storm. Well, now her daughter no longer wants to dance because her mom can't come with her. I said I wasn't going to get emotional. I said I wasn't going to cry because I needed you all to understand she and he were people, not just patient X. They're not just patient X. This is a book that I made my granddaughter, of memories of her mother. If I could take out time to let you see, this is Jessica. This is Jessica. Jessica's funeral was broadcast on Facebook. Jessica had a viewing of 3,000 abroad. She's a person. She's a person. Now, when I talk to her, because I'm used to talking to her every day, and she would calm me down and she would say, Ma, it's gonna be all right. Her best friend made a song for her at her funeral. Ma, it's gonna be all right. I need to know that you all hear me when I say somebody needs to be accountable for us as people that are utilizing the healthcare system. Somebody needs to be accountable that you're using the correct medicine from the doctors that spent 15, 20 years in school to learn my case, her case, my grandbaby's case. He passed on the 9th, his mom passed on the 15th, which should have never happened. The head GYN doctor called me, and I keep the message. She called me to let me know she didn't even know Jessica and Jayce had passed. It was a month after, and she wanted to give me her condolences. But what she also said was, this should have never happened. I want you all to understand, we are people. We need to utilize the health system, but we also need the compassion, and we need the doctors to stick to the oath that they took, as well as the nurses, and not look at my color and my size. That is so disrespectful to our culture. As a people, as humans, we all deserve the same treatment. We all deserve to keep our children. We all deserve to keep our grandchildren. We deserve to live. And I know some of you can go home and kiss your grandbabies and kiss your children. My circle is broken. My circle is broken because somebody didn't care about the treatment she was going through. Somebody didn't care. Whoever sat her in the emergency room with a blood pressure of 280 over 190, somebody didn't care. But we need to fix it. We need to fix it. It has to be fixed. Because I don't want to know that some other family went through what I went through, what my family went through. I have always told my children, you make a mark in this world so somebody can see you, not for your color, for what's up here and definitely what's in here. I have always told them that. And that's the way they live. My son, I'm proud of him. He's Eugene Collins Weatherspoon. He's the NAACP president here in Baton Rouge. I'm a mother of a bus driver. That's my son. Wow. But I need you to see us as people. As people. I say on my job every day when I pick up the people going to CATS terminal, these are people that deserve my services. And I will give them 100%. I've been driving 28 years. I have 4 college degrees. But I decided to go back to driving a bus because I enjoy helping people. I thank you and I appreciate you for hearing my story. Now let's see, can we hear this story and fix the problem?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I know your son very well. As a matter of fact, he's my brother. He's my fraternity brother.
Okay.
And the chairman has placed it and said it very well. I want you to know we do hear you. And the only way that we begin to change things is to be intentional about the change. I want to thank my colleague for bringing this bill. Ms. Stewart, who has been on the battlefield for as long as I've been elected, fighting, and this is long overdue. I am so sorry for your loss, and there is nothing that can replace that, bring it back.
Never.
But hopefully, maybe we can even name this bill in her honor, or I have it tagged with her name attached to it so that we remember. We always remember. And her life was not in vain.
I appreciate it.